Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and in today's video, we'll be talking about what are the best ways and most efficient ways to gearing in patch 8.2. World of Warcraft patch 8.2 Rise of Azara brings us a ton of ways to catch up for our ults, but also alternative ways of gearing than what we are used to. Things like PvP, dungeons, raids. There's more options now on the table for every one of you guys to explore. We will be highlighting these methods and talking about the most efficient way of organizing, whether you want to bring up some ults to speed or simply want to focus on one singular character, making him the best that you want him to be. So without further ado, let's talk about the things you should do on every one of your characters in order to get some gear in patch 8.2. The first thing you should do is venture into the brand new zones, Nazjatar and Mecha Ganon. When you log into World of Warcraft right now, you should be able to have access to these zones with a quest line. And from there, simply follow the breadcrumb quests that will take you all over the place. These quests are going to be important for you to unlock all the features that patch 8.2 has to offer. After spending a little bit of time in the beautiful zone of Nazjatar, you'll be given a quest line in order to upgrade your Heart of Azeroth. While Heart of Azeroth is not really a piece of gear that you'll be able to earn, you will be further upgrading your necklace. Upgrading its item level, which will give you the secondary stats provided with the necklace, as well as extra passives as well as active abilities. And while that is not really a brand new piece of gear, it will help you along your journey in order to make the content that you will be struggling through a little bit easier to deal with. Shortly after in Nazjatar, you will be introduced to the Pearls system. Mana Pearls will be one of those unique commodities you'll want to look out for as you venture and quest in Nazjatar. You can spend these Mana Pearls on gear tokens, which are account bound. That means you can either use them on the character that you buy them on or send them over to your alts. There's a bunch of different tokens from headpieces, shoulders, bracers, everything you need, everything but trinkets, weapons, and rings. The gear that you'll be getting from these tokens is called Benthic Gear. The Benthic Gear is upgradable with these Mana Pearls. You'll be able to first of all start out an upgrade at 20 Mana Pearls to upgrade a piece to 400 item level, and you can keep upgrading it further by 5 item level, but every upgrade is going to cost more Mana Pearls, up to a maximum of 430. Mana Pearls can also be spent on components in order to help you craft gear. So if you're someone who is planning on using professions in this patch, you might want to save them on a character that will be very profession driven in order to build up for the profession heavy focus. There's a couple different strategies you can employ when it comes to utilizing the Mana Pearl upgrade system. I think the best plan is, for the most part, especially if you just have one character, is to farm it all on one character and upgrade that character to be the best you can be. If you have other alts that are low level that you want to funnel gear to, or let's say it's a brand new main that you want to make sure has the best gear in the world, then you'll want to use your other characters in order to help funnel gear to make that one character the best they can be. The strategy then would be utilizing alts to help out one character, utilizing alts to buy up all the gear tokens, and having the one character be in charge of upgrading those gear tokens afterwards. If you do have one of your alts that is going to be working on professions, whether you're crafting gear, flasks, or gems, then it's a good idea to dedicate one alt to farm the pearls and invest all of them into the profession items. The Benthic Gear costs are as follows. It takes 5 Mana Pearls to get a token, 20 to upgrade that token to a 400 item level, and every other upgrade afterwards is going to have exponentially higher upgrade costs. Effectively, you can gear that one character with a maximum of 430 item level with pearls alone. This isn't going to be something that's going to be quick, as a lot of other videos suggest for the fastest way to gear, but it's probably the most efficient outside of doing the content. So this isn't going to be as fast as activity as the other channels tell you, but it is definitely solid. It's a great alternative if you're someone who simply just cannot get into raids, Mythic plus dungeons, or PvP. Next, you'll want to make sure to head over to Mecha Ganon, and by the time you unlock pearls in Nazjatar, you should have a quest line, a fairly short one, to get into Mecha. You're going to want to head to Mecha Ganon, do a little bit of the story to unlock the place itself. You may also participate in some of the tinkering components, but you will definitely want to snag yourself a very interesting and special trinket that comes from the zone of Mecha Ganon. You'll get a short quest line to get a customizable trinket that has these slots very similar to gem slots that can be applied for the trinket to give your character different stats as well as proc effects. If you're someone who's just getting into the game and you don't have any trinkets from the last raid or the last season of Mythic Plus, this is going to be a great alternative for a lot of alts just getting into the game. While in Mecha Ganon, if you do enjoy doing some of the Mecha Ganon farming with resources, you could potentially craft for other characters trinket and ring tokens. So while Nazjatar gives you everything but the trinkets and rings, Mecha Ganon potentially can provide both of those for your alts. The problem with Mecha Ganon though, the item level on those isn't going to be way too high. And it will be a good idea for you to spend some time in Mecha Ganon doing dailies and get the reputation higher and higher so that you can unlock a higher item level replacement of those tier pieces. But that is an alternative to the gearing that we have in patch 8.2. Now, there have been some videos out there that claim that if you run Mythic Plus dungeons or even Mythic 0 dungeons right now, you'll be able to farm up 400 item level pieces. I'm not really sure where all those videos are getting their information from. Maybe some people are not checking it properly, but I believe that that system is supposed to arrive in BFA 8.2 eventually. But we are not going to be seeing an increase to the item level rewards until 2 weeks from the release of patch 8.2, when the PvP season and the Mythic Plus season will resume, as well as when the brand new raid will be open. However, if you do want to get some gear from dungeons, Mythic Plus is still on the table, and you may be able to run Mythic Plus all the way until level 10 with the previous Season 2 affixes, and the gear equivalent should be about the same. So if you do end up doing Mythic Plus and you're trying to get some loot out of your Mythic Plus chest, don't expect an item level of 410 or higher, unless it Titan Forges, of course. 2 weeks after the release of patch 8.2, we'll have actual content for you guys to work on, which will open up so many more opportunities to gearing our alts and mains in patch 8.2. Some of the content that will become available at a later time will be world bosses. Nazjatar is going to have world bosses that drop specific items like Azeroth pieces, weapons, and more. The item level that the world bosses will drop for you will be in the 415 range, at least what we can see right now on our dungeon journal. However, Blizzard might increase the item level in the future as the world bosses do roll out. So you're looking at 2 world boss alternatives for Nazjatar. We don't know if both world bosses will be available day 1 and if 2 of them are going to be available every reset. Pretty sure they're going to alternate between which boss is going to be available every other week. Outside of that, Mecha Ganon Dungeon will be open in 2 weeks as well. Mecha Ganon Dungeon is an 8-boss mega dungeon, very similar to Karazhan Dungeon back in Legion. And the gear it'll drop will be a 415 item level minimum. The Mecha Ganon Dungeon is going to be Mythic only, so you won't have a normal heroic versions of the dungeon, but it should be a fairly doable dungeon for most players. The gear it drops is very unique, and it does have some new Azeroth pieces. I should also mention that Mecha Ganon also has mounts that you might be able to get from the final boss. So that should give you as much of a reason to want to try Mecha Ganon Dungeon at least once. We should also have access by then to heroic warfronts. And last time Blizzard talked about heroic warfronts, which we know very little about, the item level heroic warfront should drop you should be 425. Now, we are not aware yet if this is something you need to do in an organized group and how difficult those might be. They might be equivalent of a heroic raid, so that means you will need to have a guild group to do these warfronts. But it might be just a more challenging version of regular Warfronts that you might be able to do with other players simply in LFG. Be sure to be on the lookout for 8.2 Heroic Warfronts, as that 425 item level does sound really nice. And of course, with patch 8.2, the raid will also be open and available for everyone. We will have the 415 item level for the normal version, 430 for the heroic, and the legendary 445 for the mythic version. So if you're someone who does raids, it'll be a good opportunity to get in there and use all of your reroll tokens available in order to snag yourself as much opportunity for some free loot. And with the raid being open, you have Season 3 of Battle for Azeroth available. That means you'll have Mythic Plus dungeons, which will offer you better rewards, but also more of a challenge when it comes to doing the dungeons, and of course, better rewards for the weekly completion at the end of the reset. The same thing goes out for the PvP season of Battle for Azeroth Season 3. Brand new looking gear, brand new pieces, a brand new season to start all over, and the better you are at PvP, the higher rating you get, the better the gear rewards will be. Also with a weekly seasonal cap. Most of the World of Warcraft players engage in one of these three activities: Mythic Plus dungeons, PvP, or raids. Or you could try a hand at every one of the aspects of the game as well to give yourselves more chances in order to get some great loot. And then finally there's professions. But professions are fairly straightforward. You follow the quest lines that your profession gives, you get enough resources in order to be able to craft yourself the gear that you want. In the past seasons for Battle for Azeroth, in the first raid as well as the second, both raids were necessary in order to advance your professions. So if you're someone who wants to rely on professions, there's a good chance you are also raiding, because those two go hand in hand. And that should cover just about everything. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed and hope you found it informative. There's a lot of stuff to do in BFA, and there's a lot of ways of gearing, particularly with the pearls. I'm very surprised that Blizzard decided to allow players to gear all the way to item level 430 if you wanted to, just from farming mana pearls. It's very exciting to see if I can maybe gear one of my characters without ever having to step a foot inside of a dungeon, raid, or a PvP instance. I'm actually kind of excited to see just how far I'll be able to go. Thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys found this video helpful, and I'll see all of you guys in another video.